Hi everyone, welcome back to Data Session. I hope you are doing very well. In this video, we are going to learn one of the most important and widely used YAML command in Microsoft SQL Server, the update statement. The update statement is something we can use almost every day in real-world database work, whether it is used to correct an existing record or need to update a timestamp. So in this video, we will start with the basic of update and then move into real world example from simple update to advanced one using join, subquery, case expression and even JSON modification. So let's get started. So friend, before going forward, I request you viewer to please subscribe this channel and like this video if you find this video helpful to you. Now let's get started. So what exactly update statement do? Update statement is a command in SQL Server used to modify existing record in a table. If you want to change one or more column value from one or more row, update statement is here is a tool. So here is the basic syntax of update statement. Let me paste here. We need to use here update keyword, then we need to write here table name in which we want to update, means target table name. Then we need to use here set keyword, then column name in which we want to update, and here new value. And if you want to update in multiple column, then we need to use here comma separated column and new value. Okay, here is the target column in which we want to update, and then we need to use here where condition. Here we need to remember this where clause is extremely important. If you skip it, the SQL Server will update every row in a table, so be careful about this where condition. Okay, so before we start the update statement, let's create here sample table and sample record that we use here throughout this session. Okay, so here I'm going to create here two table, department and employee. I have already created here a script to save time. Okay, so let me first comment this and let me paste here, remove this demo. Okay, so here I'm going to create here department table with department ID, department name and location. So let me create. Here I am using here drop table if exist in already our database. Here I am using SQL Server database which is located in our Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so if you refresh this, you can see here department table is now created. Okay, let me insert here sample record into department table. Here 5 row affected. If you want to see, let's use here department, select start from department and execute. You can see here department, 1 for IT, 2 for finance, 3 for HR. Okay, so all record is successfully inserted. Okay, let me drop here existing table and let me create here new table for employee with this structure: employee ID, first name, last name, department, salary, bonus, manager ID is active, last updated info and annual salary. Okay, let me execute and also let me insert sample record. I am going to insert only 5 record for our demo purpose. Here 5 row affected. Let's see this value what contained in this employee table. Okay, select a star from employee. This will display all record from this employee table. Okay, you can see here we successfully inserted. Okay, now let's move on to first example, the basic update. So here I'm beginning with simple basic update. This is first example. We are going to learn 15 types of example. Okay, for update. So here basic update. Let's suppose you want to change here Amit Sharma salary from 75,000 to 80,000. So how we can change? Simply use here update employee table. Okay, here is the going to be employees our target table, and then use here set keyword. Here column name is salary and let's say here give 80,000, where we need to apply here condition where employee ID. Here I am using here I am going to use here employee ID because our in this table case employee ID is our primary key. If you use here first name and last name as a Amit Sharma, and it might be here is a Amit Sharma is a duplicate name, so it is better to use here primary key employee ID. Okay, so let me use here 101 employee ID for Amit Sharma salary. So let me select this, and you can also use here Shift Command E to execute in our Visual Studio Code. Okay, or you can also, for window case, you can use Control Shift and E. Okay, to execute salary, or you can also use here this button. Okay, to execute here one row affected, and if you check, select star from employee table and execute, you can see Amit Sharma, it changes salary from 55,000 to 80,000. Okay, and here I want to point it out here, always remember, if you skip here where clause, you might update every records by mistake, so always double check your filter condition. Okay, now let's move on to next example, update multiple column. Okay, you can update more than one column at a time. So let's suppose you want to update both salary and bonus for Ravi Patel. Okay, so how we can update? Simply use here update keyword, then employee, our target table, and let me use here set salary equal to, let's say here 68, let's say here 70, and then we need to use here comma, then other column name is bonus, let's say here 3000. Okay, and then we need to use here where clause, where employee ID equal to 102 for our case Ravi Patel case. Okay, so let me execute and let's verify. Ravi Patel, here salary become here 70,000 and bonus also changes to 3,000. Okay, now let's move on to third example, update, how to update all row. Okay, so let's see what happens if you don't use here where clause. Okay, so let me use here update employee and set bonus, let's say here bonus I want to update for all employee, so without using any where clause condition, here every employee has changes to bonus 5,000. Okay, and let's we validate, select star from employee, select star from employee, delete this and execute this, and you can see here every employee has become a bonus is 5,000. So this is something useful for applying the flat changes, but in production you have a very careful with this kind of update without using where clause. Okay, now let's move on to fourth example, update using condition. Okay, fourth example, update using a condition. Let me comment this. Okay, and now let's apply a condition. Let's say we want to increase or hike a salary by 5,000 for IT department. Here IT department is here 1. Okay, so you can see here 1 is for IT department and who are earning, let's say 90,000. Okay, so we want to apply here two condition. So let me update here employee, set salary equal to salary plus I want to increase 5,000 for department equal to IT 1 in our case, and whose salary is less than, let's say 90,000. Okay, so in our cases 1 here 2 record, and who are earning less than 90,000 I want to update here 5,000 salary, for department only 1. Okay, so in both cases here is 80,000, so both will be going to increase by 5,000. Okay, so let me see here 85,000 for our both cases. Okay, now let's see here, fifth example. So this condition is ensured that only employee in IT department where department ID is equal to 1 and salary below is less than 90,000 is get hike. Okay, now let's say update using join. This is the fifth example. Comment this. So sometime your update depend on data in another table. In that case you can use here join condition. So for example, we want to increase salary by 10,000 for all employee who are working in HR department. So HR department here is 3. Okay, for this department only one employee for our cases in our example, so need to update only one record. So let me use here alias name E. Okay, set E dot salary equal to E dot salary plus, let me increase here 5,000. okay, from employee, here give here alias name as E. Okay, and then join here inner join with department. Okay, let's say here D on E dot employee ID, E dot here going to with department ID to join with department table, department ID where D dot department, let's say here name equal to HR in caps letter right here, and let me see my run this command and you won't do affected, and let me validate. Let's write here code, select star from employee. This will display all record and all column for employee table, and you can see here for department ID 3 here salary hike by 5,000. okay, now let's move on to another example, sixth example. So now let's see how to update using subquery. Okay, so update using a subquery. So let's say we want to give here 10% salary hike to employee who are working in department where located in Delhi. So how we can update? Let me use here update command, employee table, set salary equal to, we want to use here 10% salary hike, so we need to use here mathematical expression salary 1.10. this increase here 10% salary. Okay, where department ID in, then use here select, let me write in here, select star from department table where location ID equal to Delhi. Okay, and here location ID here I'm going to use here Delhi, here to employee. So this written here to department 1 and 4, and if you check here 1 is 2 times and 4 is 1 times, so this is might be update 3 record. So let me execute and let's see. Here we need to use here department ID. Okay, and now update here, so 3 row affected. Okay, and select star from employee, and you can see here 10% salary hike for Delhi location based employee. Okay, here subquery identified all Delhi based department and return the main query and apply the update statement. Okay, now let's move on to another example, seventh example, update using case expression. Let's say and comment this. So you can use here conditional logic using case similar to if else statement. Okay, so let's see here example. Employee, let's set here bonus. Let me use here bonus column, and let me use here case, and let me use here case when, let's say here department ID equal to 4, then I want to increase by 10,000 salary. Let's say when department ID equal to 1, then let's say 8,000, else let's say 5,000 for other department, and end of the case statement. Okay, and without any where clause, let me execute. We need to use here equal to, here 5 row affected, means 5 row updated. Okay, for department ID 4, 10,000, for department ID 1, 8,000, and else for other department 5,000. So this is perfect when you want to apply different value for different department. Okay, and always it is a good practice to use and validate after update. Okay, you can see here this increase department ID 4 by 10,000, 1 by 8,000. Okay, I will put all script in description box. You can copy from there and do practice. So let's move on to another example. Update with top clause or top keyword. Okay, so this is a useful when you want to test an update just for a, let's say, few row. So let me use here update only for top 3. So we need to use here in bracket top update top 3 for employee table. Okay, in our case set salary equal to, let's say here salary increase by 2,000, where let me apply one condition, department ID equal to, let's say 1. Okay, and select this and execute. Here 2 row affected, only updated 2 row, because for department ID 1 we have only 2 record. Let's say here we want to update only 1, and if you update then it's affected only 1 row. Okay, now let's move on to another example. This is 9th example for update using output keyword. Okay, so output clause help us to track old and new value during an update. So let's see here example, update employee set salary, let's say here salary plus 5,000. Okay, and then use here output, let's say here deleted record, means old record of salary as a, you can say here old salary, and inserted record for salary, let's say new salary as a column name, where department ID equal to, let's say 2. Okay, and if you execute, this will show output for old and new value as well. So let me execute, and you can see here old salary is 70,000 and new salary is, we increase here 5,000, so 75,000. Okay, now let's move on to another example. Example 10, update using variable. Okay, so let's make it dynamic by using variable, and this type of update is used in very common in store procedure. So let's see here example, declare let's say a department which is integer data type, let's say a 2, and also declare one more variable, let's say here bonus column, let me use here, and this is also going to be integer data type, let's say here 7,000, and let me use here update statement, update employee, set bonus equal to, let me use here bonus by 7,000, where department id equal to, let me use here variable. Okay, and execute. We perfectly executed using variable. Okay, employee for validation you can check here. Okay, for department id to 7,000. Okay, now let's move on to another example. Example 11. Okay, update JSON column. We have a JSON column. Okay, you can see here we have a JSON column. Info column has a JSON data. Okay, for newer version of SQL Server you can modify JSON content directly using update statement. So how we can use, let me use here update keyword, then employee, set here info is our column name, then we need to use here JSON, and this is the modify. Okay, then use here column which is info, and then in single quote use here dollar dot, this refer to our inner column which is address. Let me write here address dot ct. Okay, and then comma, let's say I want to change here for employee for Delhi to Mumbai. Okay, so let me write here Mumbai. Okay, where let's say employee id equal to 105, and let me run this. One row affected, and let me validate, select star from employee and execute. You can see here for employee ID 105, this value changes to Mumbai. Okay, this value changes to Mumbai. Okay, now let's move on to another example. Example number 12. Update with current time stamp. Okay, so how we can update current time stamp? So let's say we want to track when a record was last updated, so we can use here get function. So let me use here update for employee table, and we have a column called here last update column for, you can see here last updated, here null value, and let me use here get function, get date, and right here where, let's say for all employee. Okay, and update this. Okay, and if you execute, you can see here last updated time, date time updated in this column. Okay, for all records. So this helps us to track changes and audit purpose. Okay, now let's move on to another example, 13 example. Update null value. So how we can update any, so let's suppose we have a null value for bonus. Okay, so something we need to fix for missing data value, we use here null update. So how we can use here update employee, set bonus equal to, let's say, 10,000, where bonus is, let's say, null. Okay, and if you run this, 0 row affected, because in our employee table there is no any null value for bonus column. Okay, now let's move on to another example. Let's use here real world complex update. Okay, so now let's combine everything into realistic scenario. Suppose we want to apply different salary hike based on department and also set a default bonus. So let's me create here query. Let's use here alias name e, update e, set salary. Let us use here case. Okay, case. Okay, when d dot, let's say here department name, and name equal to, let's say here finance. We have a finance column, finance value in department. Then I want to increase here salary by 50,000, 15%. Okay, when d dot department name equal to, let's say here IT, then e dot salary multiply by 1.10 means 10%, else, let's say here for other department, this is mathematical expression. Okay, let's say here 5%. Okay, end of the case statement. Okay, and use here another column bonus, let's say for all 5,000 from employee, give here alias name e. Okay, and inner join with department table, let's give here alias name d on e dot department id equal to join with department, we need to use here department common column, and let's say for employee who is active, e dot is active. Okay, equal to 1. In our case all employees here active. Okay, so let me run this, execute. You can see here 5 row affected, means 5 row updated in our employee table. Here alias name is e. Okay, for employee. Okay, so let me validate, execute. Okay, you can see here salary increases and bonus is set to be here 5,000. So this is very practical example you might find in payroll or HR system. Okay, now let's see last example, update with CTE. Okay, so you can even perform update through CTE, which is common table expression. So let's see example how to update using CTE. Let's create here CTE for employee. Okay, so let me give here only CTE as, let me create here, select star from employee where department ID equal to, let's say here 3. Okay, and let me use here now update statement CTE, and let's set here salary equal to salary plus, let's say 8,000. Okay, so this CTE return only where department ID equal to 3, and the return of this record is updated in this update statement. Okay, so let me execute, and you can see here only 1 row affected because this return only 1 record. Okay, so how you can see here we can use here CTE to update the existing record of table. Okay, so viewer, that's how you can use here update statement in Microsoft SQL Server. From simplest example to advanced real world example, we see here 15 type of update statement with example. Okay, so in this session we have covered here multiple use cases, from basic to multiple column update using JSON subquery case, JSON update, and also see here CTE update, real world scenario combination with everything. So if you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, share and comment, and also don't forget to subscribe this channel for more SQL and data engineering tutorial. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next session. Thank you so much.